One of the reasons why AAC fails, it's not just only these, is that the vocabulary selection is not appropriate. We might just get an app or get something and just use it for everybody and not modify it and customize it to meet the needs of that student. Sometimes it's not motivating, maybe. It might have things that they don't even care to be able to communicate about. It might be more of just nouns or phrase-based and not engaging for them to feel like they can communicate with other kids and that kind of stuff. It might not be flexible enough. It might not have the right vocabulary to even model to get them to participate in certain activities. In order for us to teach them vocabulary, we have to have the vocabulary to teach, okay? So it can't be a system that only has 8 words on it. And I understand some of our kids are using low-tech and mid-tech devices that range from 4 locations to 32. But we have to try and get them beyond those to be able to get more vocabulary on there. So it can be flexible enough, and you can put motivating things on there for them to communicate. Oftentimes we give up on students saying that their system, they can't do it, Johnny's not ready for it, whatever, and we blame it on them, but it's really in the fact it's our problem. First of all, we probably didn't teach it, and second of all, we probably didn't make it fun. Because when you're learning to communicate, why would anybody communicate if it wasn't for something that they needed or they wanted or thought was fun? Because that's how we learn to communicate. Okay? We're not communicating the academic stuff. We don't care about what the weather is outside or anything like that. Okay? It has to be fun and motivating. Sometimes it's challenging for some students because they're very passive. But we have to really dig deep and work as a team to come up with ways to get them to buy into a system and to start using it. Okay? Never give up. We always have to have high expectations for our students, and we should never give up and keep striving to get them using something. We're going to talk about 5 different things about how to promote the use of the devices, and the first thing is the targeting of the vocabulary. If you think about your own kids, your grandkids, or whatever, how do we learn language? By using it. People are modeling all the time. They're using words and modeling how to say mama, dada, cookie, and then one day Johnny says dada, and you're all like, oh, Johnny said dada, but a lot of times they don't really mean dada. We just say that it's because it's just easier to say, but then we attribute meaning to that by saying, oh, you said daddy, and then now they call that daddy. So that's how you learn. You give meaning to the word because they're just saying sounds, right? You're giving the meaning. Okay, so what does this mean? We did this for a reason. Put no words on here. I don't tell you the meaning. If I'm not teaching you the meaning of this, it means nothing to you, right? So we have to teach the words, what they mean. It says, speak with me. Does that make sense now? So now, next time you see the with, are you going to always know that that's with? Okay. We teach them in single word. Like, everybody speaks in single words. So they speak, mama, daddy, up, cookie. And then all of a sudden they start saying, mommy, up, daddy, cookie. And they combine those words. So we do the same thing with our kids using systems. We want to teach them individual words. They can combine those individual words to make a novel utterance. It is just normal language development. We're going to follow the exact same things. If you do the Brown stages, whatever stages you want to use, you're going to do those normal language development and then just build on it. We're going to talk about vocabulary, core words, and fringe words. Core words consist of 80% of what we say. If we took a language sample, the top 300 words are core words. 300 to 400 words are core words. We don't talk in nouns. Okay. So we tend to put those nouns and things mostly on their devices and don't teach them these core words that could be used across all these environments to say 80% of what they need to say. We need to spend time teaching them because they are abstract. It's hard to have a picture for can or make. It's hard to teach them. They're abstract. We have to teach them in functional activities. So the word go, teaching them that go can mean different things depending on where you are, right? More can mean different things depending on what you're doing. So we need to do that over and over again in different environments so they can generalize. Because sometimes our kids have trouble with generalization from one activity to the other. So here's an example of some low-tech core words. I know we have students out there that have our mid-tech devices and our teachers that really want to have activity overlays. They want to overlay for the weather time and the circle time and all this stuff. And I'm not saying get rid of them because if they're using them, let them use. It's good. It's interactive. But if a student's main communication board should be based on core vocabulary with some fringe as well. So if you're going to do these activity overlays, that's fine. It's just supplemental. So So a kid might be using a high-tech little device right here, but if you have a GoTalk or a TextSpeak and you want to use this for the book, then you want to program the book on here. Program the book on there. I don't care. You can do that, but when you're doing these activity overlays, see, I still have core words in there. Look at my Play-Doh. The only fringe words are cookie cutter and Play-Doh. So I'm still giving them access to core words. They can say your turn, my time, where, give, get, more, on, off. See, those are words that we can use across all different activities and environments. So we're working on those core words. So here's our low-tech board. If you guys, if whoever did their making tape today or is going to do it after, this is our low-tech with motor planning, where see stop, want, more, that, they're all in the same location. So as I add words, because maybe it's just too many at first to start with, they're slowly added. But stop, want is still there, same location, they don't change, until my student has a bunch of words that they can use. And they've already learned the pattern, the motor planning for it. So all of the high-tech devices now have this motor planning stuff built into it, where you can hide the icons. Here's an example of the high-tech devices. So this is the ProLoQ Go, where the core vocabulary is here, and the fringe vocabulary and categories right here. And then this is Toby Dotavox, so the core is here, and the fringe is right here. Okay? So you don't touch these. These are core words. I mean, you can modify them a bit depending on what core words are most appropriate for the student in their environments. But then this is where you're going to add their fringe vocabulary and the things that they like. You can do this masking thing, the hiding of everything. It's like the motor planning. At first, a student might have all this and it's too much. Like visually, they can't attend or whatever. So you can just wake up or hide the ones that you don't want to show right now. And then this is the vocabulary to start, but then you start waking up as you go. So my only thing with this is sometimes we tend to stay too long on these hidden, like only showing so much vocabulary. This one school system I work with, they have great ABA teachers and whatever, and they are awesome people. Classrooms using LAMP or whatever, but in ABA they do so much data collection. They are to the T with data, and so she would not move forward, or she wouldn't add a word because the kid hadn't done 100%. And I'm like, okay, just forget about ABA for a minute. Like, we gotta forget about that for a minute, because you can't, if you don't have the vocabulary to model, you're never going to be able to show them how to use it to communicate. I say when you're starting off small like this, please don't stay on here for a month. Your kid, they don't even have to ever go to more. But you might have modeled it like 15, 20, 30 times, maybe a couple times, maybe it's a couple sessions, maybe a week. But start adding. Start adding. Don't hold back because they have never used that word. If we don't have the words there to show them, then you can't teach it. So don't stay hidden for so long. Fringe vocabulary is very important as well. Kids like specific things. Kids that only eat nuggets or whatever, like certain things. You need to put the things that they love on there, the things that are important to them. But they can talk about, they can request the things that they love without those items being on there. You can say, I want that. That's mine. We need to add those. It's 20%. Those words are 20% of what we need to say. So there's an examples of activity boards based solely on fringe. Teachers want their kids to have choices for center time, but we're just going to post that on the wall. Johnny, where do you want to go today? It doesn't have to be on this device. You don't have to program all that on the device. It's also great to just use your interactive word wall right here. You're going to have your teacher-made interactive word wall, and you can say, Johnny, where do you want to go? And he can. I'll put all this up here. I want to go to the ball. So you can create your own interactive communication board right there. So I'm not saying, tell your teachers to tear up all their activity overlays and stuff like that. If they have an art table, an art center, post this art thing. You can put it on the table, put some tape on it, so the vocabulary is there if they need it. Or if someone's there to model it, they can model it. But it does have a couple of core words, but mostly it's fringe. They will like to talk about the weather every morning. That's fine. Put it on your interactive board. And a lot of times, these words are already in LAMP Words for Life, and they're in a lot of the other devices and stuff. As the fringe stuff, our main board is our core vocabulary. What if I gave you this overlay? How happy are you? I mean, basically, you might be happy to say you want the remote control, I mean, the couch, maybe I want to take a nap. That is no fun. Like, if a kid came up to another kid and is light, I mean, like, what is he going to, like, they can't talk back and forth. That is no fun. That's not motivating. We don't talk in nouns. Like, you want to put on there, the kid says, that's mine. Give it to me, or I'll punch you, or something like that. But I mean, that's the things that you've got to put on there so they can, that's what kids say to each other. You're trying to come up with, okay, what am I putting on these boards? Listen to what the kids are saying around them, their peers. What are they using? What words are they using? And focus in on the core words. So our best scenario is we want to combine three things. Core words, fringe words, the things that are important to those kids, and then the common phrases like greetings, the places the kid likes to go, the social greetings and things like that. If a kid is in high school, you don't want to put hello. Maybe the kid probably wants to say what's up, or that's dope, or whatever. You put the vocabulary that's for their type of kid, their personality. You can ask their peers, their siblings. Their siblings know a lot about them, the parents, what kind of things they might want to put on there. As we get older, I'm still learning. Like my 15-year-old, I'm like, what does that mean? I'm like, oh, okay, I got to get back with the new lingo. We also want to provide and start including all these ranges of functions of words. I'm not saying we have to do it all at once. At some point, we need to add all these kinds of words and start introducing. And I know I've said this already. One thing that we never teach them is how to ask a question. We ask the questions, they respond to us. So we need to model and show them how they can ask questions. Thinking about, let's start adding these, rejections or disappearances, all gone, done. Those are common. We have these devices, the mid-tech devices, all over the place. And we check them out all the time. So I would check them out and I would give them, blank with nothing in it. So then I decided, no, I'm not. Because then it comes back with my voice still on it and no overlay. And this is just a sample. So what I did was I took the commonly used words from the DLM, which you have, and I put the top 20 words at the top. And then I put the fringe words, this is just for a preschool type or a younger kid, fringe words as a sample. So that my teacher, at least you can start with some core. I want you to modify this to be the needs of the kid. You might see that we don't really need fast and slow. We really need look or do more than that in this environment. And so you can alternate. So you can make a little flip chart of your fringe. Yeah. And then Velcro it to the top. So because mine's limited. So I have my core and then I only have those 8 things of fringe. So now you've got categories. So they can go to different categories. So they can still use the mid-tech. But really, we still need to if we're on this, we need to move our kid forward. We don't want to stay on this mid-tech stuff. We're not going to get more language other than that. Where do we begin? We're doing normal language development, right? Okay, so you can use the Brown stages of language development or the AAC Language Lab, the PRC thing has 6 stages of language. You can kind of go through that. It's hard to cognitively test our kids. It's not going to be correct because they don't have the language to tell you. Mari, a kid I know, he was on a device like this. Then he was severe profound because all he had was 32 things to say. He's now on a system like this and has hundreds of words, maybe not thousands yet. And now they tested him, he came out mild. Observational, you go in there and say, okay, Johnny, I think he's got like at least 40 words, but he's combining them, so he's at level stage 2. These are some language objectives I need to write to get him to the next stage of language, and these are how it's aligned to the Common Core. Okay, so great little, it's called Brown Stages for AAC users. You can Google it, or it's also on the slide. So observe your environment. Like I said, when you go into this classroom versus this classroom, they might be using different core words. So I have the Mayor Benaji core words. It was done back in the day, but I love it because it says like the first 8 words to start with. But then you've also got the DLM, which is new research, okay? So what you do is you take these with you, and as you're observing the classroom, you're going to say, oh, this kid said help. Oh, they could probably use want, yeah. And mine, yep. Oh, stop, yep. So circle the top words and then start there, okay? It's individualized, depending on the environment. What are the routines that they're doing throughout the day? Like, they could use this word 15 times. Let's add that. So it's called an ecological inventory. These are all the different lists. Mayor Benaji, this is DLM, the PRC ones from Frankie Rummick, and this is the Dulcite words. So you can use all of them if you want to. Put them all. They all overlap. They all overlap. They're all very high frequently used words. The other consideration, I think we already talked about in here, is what symbol system. Like which language are we going to be teaching? Because it is a language. We're teaching them another form of language. That is something to consider before you're deciding on where we want our kid. Where is our kid going to go? So they're in preschool right now, but what kind of curriculum are we going to use in a couple of years, or what kind of support do we have? I mean, there's a lot of consideration that needs to go into it because everybody needs to buy in, okay? So just because you love Pro Loco Go doesn't mean that it's the right thing, okay? And that's why we have the loan library. We loan out all these things, but we can help guide, and that's why you try it with kids. And if it works, then it works. And if it doesn't, then you try something else. But the biggest thing is when you're teaching those core words or teaching these words, when we adding words, we want to always keep them in the same location. If we change up, what happens? Oh, because I was trying to do my son's PlayStation. You know, he had to sign back in. Well, the damn thing is ABC. Okay? I couldn't find the letters to type my email address because I'm used to QWERTY. Okay, so if you change the location, it's not automatic for me anymore. It took time and I was frustrated. So we do not change locations of anything once we add them, and I'll keep them in the same place, like, okay, as we go. So the consistent symbol location, especially the core words. So here's the link to the Brown stages, like I said. The AAC Language Lab right there, great way to show people what it looks like to be at this language level, because it's going to have videos of a student using AAC device at stage 3 or whatever. So great way to just show them. So here's just teaching single words. When we learn words, we're learning in single words, right? And so then once we learn those words, then we combine those words to make 2 words, right? So did you see that she modeled a couple of different words? It wasn't just jump. Okay, so and I like that because jump, you could say more to say that you want to do it. You can say go to say to start. You're using a variety of different words to say the same thing. This is the language stages at the Language Lab. All these language stages have quite a few videos at every language level to show you what it looks like. So great resource to basically, the kids on the 1 word, we're going to model 2. Kids on a 2 word, we're going to model 3. Or add an attribute. They want the green dinosaur, and you can say, oh, you wanted the mean green dinosaur, or something like that. So what we need to do is have the device available no matter what. Okay? It's not on a shelf somewhere. It's not locked in the closet. Kids that want to hit it all the time. Okay, when it's not the right time, well, then I say you just do a behavior thing. You have to tell them, no, Johnny, it is not time to talk about what you want for lunch today, or if you're going to do it again, then you're going to be in timeout. And you're going to be that's what you do with your kids at talk. Okay? So you have to do the same thing with our kids. The only thing that I would say, like, it gets hairy, like if you have a kid that's not even looking at their device, and they're just self-stimming on it. Okay, that's a different situation. Talk about that later. But we have to have their device all the time readily available. Even if they're at the playground, they're like, oh, we can't bring it to the playground. It's like $7,000, we cannot put it on the playground. Well, you have to, because you have to, whether you put it on a bench that's kind of close to someone that, someone's probably sitting on the bench, one of the teachers or parents or somebody, they can have it right there so the kid can come back and use it. But really, playground is an awesome learning environment where we should be modeling. I know that we need a break sometimes and we need to sit, but maybe get a peer to do it or whatever, but have the device. You let the kid run and you're running behind them and you're modeling. I was trying to teach a little girl, she was on her bike and we're going down the hallway, stop and go. Well, I'm running next to her. Oh, stop, put on brakes and we're doing stop. You got to do it. It has to be there. And so it can't be, stuck in the classroom. Bring it to the cafeteria. A great time where they talk, they have to be quiet for, 10 minutes so they can eat. But then when the cup turns green, our kids should be able to talk like everybody else is, right? So look, the kids at the grocery store doing a community thing, he's got it. And you can also do low tech. If you really don't want to bring it to because it's rain, or whatever, you can do low tech too. Bring the low tech out there. In order to move our kids along on teaching the core words and building their language, we have to write goals. If we don't write those goals, we're not going to be focusing on it. So we're writing language goals for these kids, okay? So they're going to be looking just like your language kids' goals and objectives, but they're going to be using their tool, their device, or whatever it is, to be able to communicate. So Gail Van Tatenhoven says that one must learn to communicate before being able to communicate to learn. Okay, so just like one must learn to read before you can read to learn. It's the same thing, okay? So we have to provide them and write these goals so they can learn the higher, like how to communicate and build sentences before we can to get what they know, okay? Like Javari now, he writes papers with his device. That's how he writes. He has learned language to write complete, syntactically correct utterances. Before he was on a phrase-based 32 location device that I put on. It was a team effort to get him to that level, but we wrote goals and objectives to keep moving forward. We never gave up. Lauren Enders has a great Pinterest site for identifying and writing goals. And the other one is Dynavox, and the link is right there. So I told you to create a My Dynavox account. It's free, and you get a lot of resources. Well, they also have writing AAC goals, and it's broken up into these 4 things: operational, linguistic, social, and strategic. Because we should be teaching our kid all these things, okay? We should be teaching them how to operate the device. How do you turn it on, turn it off? How do you turn the volume up if you're in the cafeteria and it's too low and, whatever. You need to tell somebody it needs to be charged, and that kind of stuff. Linguistics, so how do we construct meaningful utterances? So if they're like Jabari, he would say complete sentences, but he didn't know plurals and past tense. So what did they do? Wrote goals and worked on how to get him to understand what plurals meant and what does past tense mean. And ing, all that kind of stuff. And so now he knows those. Social is big time. Our kids are responders and oftentimes don't go up to other people and start having a conversation. So create opportunities where they can go and have goals where they can go and socially interact with those other people. So Jabari now, power wheelchair, and then he has a environmental control to go from his mobility to his communication. So he goes up to the playground, switches it, and he does it, and he's like flirting with the chicks on the playground. He is. He's like, you want to go out? He got him a red jacket. So you wearing it to church? He goes, no, on a date. He's a typical 7th grade, like he wants to hang out with the chicks. And then also strategic goals, like how to repair miscommunication if people don't understand you, or if you can't find the book, like what are some strategies that they can use. But these are all goals and objectives and it's free from the Dynavox website. So I already told you about Practical AAC, great place. Okay, if you don't know about this, you got to do it. Okay, it's free. It's called the Communication Matrix. And it's going to ask you yes/no questions about how your student is communicating, whether it's facial expressions, all this stuff. But best part is it comes up with this nice little chart thing that this is the lowest level of language to the highest level of language, and this is where we're going. We want our kids to be right here. We want all this to be orange. The digital version, you can hover over it, and it'll give you a definition of it, what it means. It'll give you a video of a kid doing that at that stage, and also a picture. So anybody can do this. It doesn't have to be your speech person or whatever. But what we're going to do is we're going to write goals to get them to be orange. So what about a kid that's protesting? He's protesting in an unconventional way. It says unconventional. This is unconventional. This is conventional. What is he doing? Unconventional protesting. What is he doing? Throwing something at you. Okay. So then, I didn't tell this story. The other day I had this device, and we were using a device. It was touch chat with this kid. Never used a device before. I was modeling. He was going from page to page. All the stuff. And then out of nowhere, he just reared up and slapped me across the face. And I was like, ooh. And I'm like, oh, okay. So right then and there, I had to decide, why do I think he slapped me? And so I just decided, because I didn't know, because he didn't look like he was frustrated, but I just decided that I was going to model, I'm done, stop, and so I modeled that. And so after that, then he did, all done, goodbye. I never told him goodbye. He told me goodbye. So you have to teach them, so this is helping you get from an unconventional to a conventional mode of communication. But anyway, great resource. We have to create the right learning environment for our kids. And one of the top things that we need to do is that we need everybody to be on the same page. How they're modeling, how they're prompting. We can't have someone doing hand over hand and the other person not doing, just doing verbal cues or whatever. We have to all be on that same level on teaching them how to use it. We also have to allow time for them to respond. We don't respond for them. We have to wait. So the rule is, Gail Van Tatenhove says, you wait 10 to 20 seconds, 10 to 20 seconds before you go to that next level of prompting. So you have a prompting sheet thing in your source book. Independent, you're just asking something, 10 to 20 seconds. If they don't do it, then you might do, or do, like get them, one kid, I was trying to get him to use the device, very passive, and I was like he liked to bang the stick or the ball or whatever. He liked to hit things, whatever. So then I was hitting the ball, making a lot of noise, because that's what he liked to do. So I was trying to entice him to initiate something. Then you wait 10 to 20 seconds, and then if that nothing, then you might do the next prompting. So we need to give that wait time. Everybody needs to be on the same level. We do need to reinforce all communication attempts, even if it is not appropriate. So we might have he keeps going to the food page when it's not time to, he just likes to talk about the food, and so then you just say, what? You can't say macaroni and cheese. That's not what we're talking about, dude. You're crazy. We got to talk. We're not talking about food right now. You respond to what they're doing. Just like it is a kid that's echolalic and just rambling off whatever words they're rambling off. You act like if they're not talking the appropriate words, that's their echolalic. That's their babbling. But we need to respond and say, it's not time. We're not talking. You need to be quiet. We need to go and talk about whatever. We're talking about what we did this weekend or whatever. Create the right activities, highly motivating activities for students to get them a buy-in, to get them motivated to even want to talk to other people. We already talked about teaching the picture location and motor planning. But basically, communication is not drill and practice. We're not going to be like, find, want. Okay, that's no fun. We're not doing that. We need to make it fun and interactive and get everybody to use it. We can sabotage the environment to make them want to communicate. If they have their favorite puzzle or whatever, have a piece missing. Like some people like to have everything lined up and everything in their place. Hide one of the pieces, and then they have to ask you where it is or something like that. The unique, they have the joke of the week. Put a joke on there. That's that turn taking. You want to hear a joke? And you have to wait for someone to say, yeah. And then they can say, knock, knock. And then you have to say, and then they say, yeah, see? Okay, so that's back and forth, okay? And they do that, and kids don't get the jokes anyway, but everybody laughs. I don't get jokes, and I laugh. I don't. Okay, so here's my Javare kid. Did I say this before? I don't know. But this is what he said when he was talking about the election. So he went, I'm going to take over the world. So he didn't care about the election. All he knew is that he was going to take over the world. And the speech therapist said no one taught him where world was. So at some point, he played around with his device and found out where world was. And that's what he wanted to say. Isn't that awesome? That's what he thought about the election. He said, nobody should win, but I should. Things to keep in mind when you're programming and adding vocabulary is that when you are adding, keep in mind the motor planning. So once you add it, don't take it away. It's always there. So it's like typing. Kids type with like that. They don't even look at their phones anymore. With the key guard, sometimes people with vision impairments can do this because they've learned the pattern. There's only one way to say a word. Okay, so then they can use it. So we need to provide enough vocabulary. Stop hiding so much. Don't be afraid to add new words daily, minutes, every minute, if you find an opportunity to teach that word, add it. Don't be afraid to do that. So because you need the language to teach the language. You can't teach it if you don't have it.